Hello, everyone. It's nice being here again on this special edition to celebrate our fathers. Yeah. We want to thank all our fathers, especially for all you do. We are really grateful. Thank you for always showing up. Thank you for looking out for your families. Thank you for taking care of the family. Thank you for always being at the forefront. Thank you for all you have to go through. We celebrate you. We appreciate you specially. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And so to celebrate our fathers, we are going to be looking at the topic fatherhood, a title or a lifestyle. And we are so honored to have on the show today Mr. Miracle Iwoma. Miracle Iwoma is a dynamic speaker, author, clinical psychologist, is a life coach, and a spiritual shepherd. He has worked with different individuals, families, and organizations as a family life therapist for a decade, as a conference speaker for 13 years, as a clinical psychologist also for 5 years, and as a prolific writer for 14 years. So we are so blessed today. He's a graduate of psychology and has a master's degree in clinical psychology. His love for personal development has endeared him to attend several other informal trainings, such as the Daystar Leadership Academy, Headstone Speakers Academy, Family Systems Certification course, intensive training course on marriage and parenting with Oak Life Ministries Canada, trauma prevention and management from Association for Trauma Outreach and Prevention USA, and certification in cognitive behavioral therapy from the Association of Cognitive Behavioral Therapists USA. Miracle is a principal consultant at Life Affairs International, an integrated training and support organization that creates superior strategies and solutions to help individuals, families, and organizations live their best lives. Life Affairs is involved with trainings, coaching, therapy, and counseling with individuals and organizations across the country. He's a conference speaker, and his humorous and mind-boggling teaching style holds his audience spellbound. His clients testify about how 1 hour with him births clarity and can move you from point A to B, whatever these points are for you in counseling and coaching. His love for humanity and selfless service is also ubiquitous, and as a result, he served as a volunteer to Paradigm Initiative Nigeria, Lagos State Empowerment and Resource Network LEN, Lagos State Psychosocial Response Team for COVID-19 in 2020, and many other organizations. A recipient of Award of Excellence from the Psychology Department of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Award of Impact from the Nigerian Red Cross Society, House of Representatives Ajeromi Felodun, 50 Most Influential People, People's Award, and lots more. He's also the administrator of Uncommon Man Network, an NGO with purpose to restore and preserve human life, founded by one of Nigeria's foremost family life therapists, Praise Fowowe. And he is also a visiting lecturer at Trinity University, Lagos, Nigeria. He's an author of several books, including Answering the Four Big Questions of Premarital Relationship, Self-Esteem, Tips for Developing a Healthy Self-Image, and Relationship Dynamics, Managing 7 Types of Relationships. An interesting thing about his life is that he grew up in a city referred to by many as a slum, which is Ajegule, but has stood out among his peers and is now a candle that lights other candles, a mentor to many, a friend to most, and a protege to few. Please join me to welcome once again Mr. Miracle Iwoma. Thank you so much for honoring this invitation. It's nice having you on here this evening on today's edition of the Family Life Today show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. We appreciate you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
And to all our viewers, thank you for coming on today. We appreciate you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm grateful back.
Yeah. So we are going to take a look at our topic: fatherhood, a title or a lifestyle? Is it just a title or a lifestyle? So we start with, what is fatherhood? Who is a father? Ah, oh wow. I think the network is playing some tricks. Uh, Guest is out. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Okay, so who is a father? What is fatherhood? What is fatherhood? Who is a father? Who is a father? Is it just a title, that you just assume? Is it something that just happens, when the baby comes, so you can be a father at any time? Yeah. Welcome back.
So
Welcome back.
sorry. The network is messing up already.
Yeah, the network is playing some tricks and
Yeah.
all that. Welcome back. Welcome back. So
Thank
I
you.
was on the question about fatherhood. Who is a father? Is it only people that does it have to be biological alone? Is it a title that you just assume once a baby once a baby comes out and
Mm.
is true you? What is fatherhood? Who is a father? Please, can you just expatiate on it? At least let's have a foundation for our topic for today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me once again. I'm really excited about the
Thank
work
you
that you
much more.
do.
Thank you much more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And to go straight into the question, who is a father? Who is a father? That's a very important question, especially at this point in time. Well, a lot of people can argue that a father is someone who births a baby, even though I believe that fatherhood is beyond that. Because if you go
Mm.
back to the etymology, the original meaning of fatherhood, it is from a Greek word, pater, right?
Okay.
Pater, which means someone who brings forth, but also committed to the offspring that he has brought up. So I believe that
Wow.
sperm donation is really not fatherhood. Fatherhood is actually about being the source of something and also nurturing that thing to its highest potentials. So if as a father you are not nurturing your child to hit your highest potentials, then you are not a father. We may term you as a sperm donor, but not a father. So fatherhood is about nurturing an offspring, and that's why right now we have in what is called surrogate fathers. That is where the word mentoring came from, where somebody now assumes the role of a father and now begins to nurture that child, even though they did not biologically birth that child. So that is what fatherhood is about: nurturing an individual, an offspring, to his or highest potentials, where they can express themselves and be a blessing to humanity.
Wow. Wow, wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So fatherhood is not just title based. It has to
Yeah.
be about it's continuous. Do you understand? Until the child is able to attain their highest potential. So it's not okay. I'm in the background, I'm paying fees, their mother should take care of everything. It
Yeah.
is all compassing. It's for life. It's for life. It's more like a
Yeah.
guardian, kind of.
Yeah.
Thank
True.
you very much. Thank you. That is profound. That's profound. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So does it come naturally? Once a baby comes, and then all these the traits that you need to do this, does it come naturally? If not, is there a way men who intend to have children can or should prepare adequately for fatherhood? Is
Okay.
it most of the time we see our fathers staying in the background, just being available, but not being present, not being involved. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
is there a way men can prepare beforehand
Yeah.
before their
Of course.
children ever?
We need to understand that fatherhood, like we have established, is actually nurturing a child. And
Okay.
it's not sperm donation. So sperm donation, there are many sperm donors who are not fathers. Right? There are many people who have the ability to impregnate other people. Once you attain puberty as a young guy, as a man, as a boy, once you attain puberty, which starts from about the age of 12, 13, for a guy, you begin to produce spermatozoa, right? And when that begins to happen, it means that you now have the ability to impregnate another woman. Now, if you go ahead to have sex with a woman and she gets pregnant and birth a child, yes, it came naturally. You didn't have to learn how to do that because of your biological makeup. You can have sex and impregnate somebody. So impregnating a woman comes naturally, but being a father is a role, and whatever is a role needs to be learned. Every role in life needs to be learned. The same way you assume the role of being a medical doctor, of being a lawyer, of being an accountant, of being a neurosurgeon, of being a psychologist, of being a family life therapist, or whatever it is that you are, is the same way when assuming the role of fatherhood. You also have some learning to do. So, one of the things fathers need to deal with is pride, or thinking that because you have the biological makeup to produce a child, then you also now automatically have the psychological, emotional, and spiritual wherewithal to also take care of that child. That's a fallacy, is an error. So fatherhood doesn't come naturally. It must come by being deliberate and by learning the ropes. If you went to school for 4 years to study a particular course, sometimes five, six, or even seven, to actually become a professional in that sense in a particular field of endeavor, then what do you think it will take you to learn the ropes for playing a role that you would have to play for the rest of your life? For playing a role that you may say is one of the most important aspects of your life. I think that the same way we go ahead to study all of those things that we study, the same way we also need to be diligent and studious about fatherhood. So it doesn't come naturally, it comes by being deliberate and by learning.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very. This is a kind of it's like
Mm.
new knowledge, and it should serve as warning to the young ones outside. They don't want to take any girl, anything is scared to bed
Mm.
without thinking of the consequence, thinking of the fact that being a father entails a lot. It's just
Yeah.
more like what they put in to go into school. That is what is required. They need to do a lot of learnings and all that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So how best can intending fathers position to learn and to have access to the right information regarding fatherhood?
Okay, how best can they do that? Yeah, it's about being deliberate, like I said, about being deliberate about learning. So fathers need to, because for instance, if I ask a question now to say, most times, even in your show, which gender shows up the most? I'm asking you.
The women.
Women.
The
Now, I
women,
haven't
women.
I haven't attended your show before. I haven't been here before, but I can assume, and my assumption would be 100% correct, that women show up for things like this more than men do. Yeah, women show up for things like for seminars, for trainings. You are doing a training, for instance, on family life, on relationship management, on parenting, and things like that. You would see that 90%, sometimes even more, of the participants who show up for those meetings are women. And then you're wondering, is parenting one sided? Is family life one sided? Because how well can somebody build a home that somebody else is determined to tear down? How well can that person build a home? How well can one person train a child that somebody else has determined to destroy? How well can the person do that? So it really takes two to build. It takes two to tango. It takes two to mingle. So we need more fathers who would be more deliberate and intentional about their families, not just in the providing department, but also in the knowledge department. Because even if you provide all you can provide and then your child turns out to be who you don't want him to be, how would you feel about that? So I think that fathers need to be deliberate. When the student is ready, the teacher would show up. Saying, oh, where can I get knowledge, is really playing to the gallery. If you really want to get knowledge, you would get it just by typing, for instance, on Google, how can I be a better father? You can have enough to read for at least 3 weeks on Google alone, just by doing that. On YouTube, how can I be a better father? You can have enough for the next 3 months to consume your time just learning about fatherhood. So if the student is ready, the teacher would be available. Fathers need to stop giving excuses, get to work. Knowledge is out there. There are books to buy. You are selling books, and then many people who are even buying your books are women, right? Fathers are so a lot of fathers, not all. There are many who are not like that, but a lot of fathers are so nonchalant and proud about these things because they feel that they came with the natural wherewithal on how to handle their families, on how to train their children. And that's a lie. You didn't come with anything from heaven. Everything you learned. You learned how to walk, how to talk, how to brush, how to eat, how to walk. Everything you learned. So if you are going to know about fatherhood, you're going to learn about it, my brother. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What they bank on most of the time is native intelligence and the
Exactly.
traditional approach.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So fathers, please go all out uh to learn on fatherhood. It takes two to raise a child. It takes two to raise a child. Please, let's go out. It's not only the mother's job to raise the children. Please, let's join hands together as much as possible and go out and learn as much as possible. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so
Yeah. You're welcome.
are there any dimensions to fatherhood? Angles to
Okay.
fatherhood, maybe dimensions and all that?
Of course,
Okay, so what
there
are
are
they?
many dimensions and layers, and of course, that like I said, a lot of fathers have just settled on the provision dimension of fatherhood. But that's only
Okay.
one aspect of fatherhood, as there are many
Mm,
other aspects that you need to pay attention to. For instance, there's the father as the protector. As a father, you are not just there to provide, you are also there to protect. You're there to protect your
wow.
family, you're there to protect your wife, you're there to protect your children, right? Protection is not only physical, protection is also emotional. Because when we talk about protection, a lot of men think that you have to be 6 foot tall, broad chested, and have a lot of biceps and triceps in order to protect your family. But no, that is the lowest level of protection, right? A
Mm,
higher level of protection is even emotional protection, where you are
mm,
protecting your wife and you're protecting your children from emotional assaults, both from family members and people who are outside. A lot of men, for instance, have not protected their children and their families enough, even from their own nuclear family, where they are coming from, right? And a lot of families, extended families, have access, to talk
children
to down on their wives, talk down on
and
their children, and
abuse,
all of that, and
afflict
abuse
them.
them, and then they are really nowhere to be found, or sometimes just in the middle. So you need to provide protection for your family. So there's a protection dimension of a father, there is a provider dimension of a father, where you provide. That's what a lot of men know. Oh, I just go out and work and get all of those things. But that's just one dimension. Like I said, there is a leader dimension as a father, where you are the
Mm,
leader, where everybody's looking up to you in that sense, and where you are a servant leader. Because when it comes to leadership, there are different dimensions of leadership as well. There is visionary leadership. As a father, you need to provide vision for your family. You need to provide a vision for your family. You need to be able to create and cast a vision of where you want your family to go, where you want your family to be. So there needs to be a family vision, not just decided by the whole family, but as a father, you are leading that process. And
mm,
also in leadership is also modeling in the sense where they are looking up to you, children are looking up to you, and then they are taking cues from the things that you do. Because, like as we know, children learn more from the things that they see than from the things that they hear. So, as a father, you also need to model the things that you are telling your children to do. So, these are some of the dimensions of fatherhood: the provider dimension, the protector dimension, the leadership dimension, which includes visionary leadership and modeling.
modeling. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, our fathers, there's a lot. There is a lot to do. There's a lot to do. No shying away.
Yeah.
So, it's high time we reorder our priorities to,
Mm.
to set things right in the family, in the home, and then this will result in a better society on the long run.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, uh, what are the challenges of fatherhood? One that I know of, like you just mentioned, rightly mentioned, is that they are always out there fending, for the family. This is a traditional thing to do. And as a
Mm.
result, most times they are absent in the lives of their family, of their children.
Mm.
How can they strike a balance? Because that's where the issue is now for them. Okay, I'm supposed to do this. How can they strike a balance? How can fathers set a better example of work-life balance for their children?
Okay,
Because
that's
a lot of fathers
mm.
are settled in the traditional way of just provide, stay in the background. There are times that even when they want to, pass on information, they pass it on through the wives.
Mm.
So
Mm.
now that they're going to be taking on new roles, or not taking on new roles necessarily, but getting into the fullness of fatherhood, how can they strike a balance, and then show
Mm.
a good example of a good work-life balance as well, where they're able to balance things well and they are present, in the
Mm.
family.
Okay. A good place to start would be to say that, to answer the first side of the question, which is the challenges fathers face before we now go into work-life balance, right? And one of the the challenges fathers face is pressure, right? An average father is under pressure, pressure both from family and from the society. And I think this is also a good place to say that a lot of fathers are not appreciated enough, yeah, both within the family and even outside. We have, for instance, and this is not to spite anybody or in any way comparing anything, but for instance, we have like maybe six Mother's Day, yeah, and maybe just one or two of the Father's Day, right? So it looks like, okay, women have quote unquote, or mothers have quote unquote all the attention and all of that, but fathers, it's come on, it's what you're supposed to do. Why are we supposed to celebrate you? So a lot of fathers are not well appreciated and celebrated. I must say that, and we must do better as a society, and much more even in the nuclear families. We must celebrate
Yeah,
our
fathers,
fathers.
please
We
take
must
notes. Our
appreciate them.
children, please take notes.
It is very important. It's very important that we appreciate them, because it's very easy to look at the things he's not doing and then become blind to the things that he is doing. You have to pay attention to details. If, for instance, is providing that a lot, it's not easy, right? So there's a lot of pressure on men, a lot of expectations, sometimes unrealistic expectations on men, even men that are not married. Sometimes a young man just left school and then he just left university, he's not gotten a good job, and then there's one lady somewhere who he wants to get married to, who is putting a lot of pressure on him, financial pressure. Oh, you must buy this for me, you must give me that, and then you must give me that. That's a lot of pressure, and this is what pushes a lot of men into sometimes doing things that they don't want to do, into crimes and all of that. So we must ease the pressure on men. We must celebrate them and give them the accolades that they deserve, because men are really, really working their ass off, for their families, and we must appreciate them. We cannot generalize on the few who are not doing well or on the many that are doing well. So we must appreciate and take note of the little details and little things that they are doing for us as a family. So we need to ease the pressure, because a lot of men are going through a lot of pressure. And as much as possible, mothers, I think it's vice versa. The same way fathers need to lessen the pressure on mothers, mothers also need to lessen the pressure on fathers, right? Both the financial pressure, the same way men also need to lessen the domestic pressure on mothers. So it has to be a team working together for the success of your family, because you're a team. You're not at variance. You are not fighting each other. You're a team. It's very important for us to say that. Then, secondly, talking about the work-life balance and how that fathers must and need, create time for family as they are doing for work. It's also comes back to being deliberate and being intentional to say what is the most important thing to me. And I think that's a good place to actually start. What is the most important thing to me, or what are the most important things? Because when values are not prioritized, you are confused about what you need to do and what you don't need to do. So on your scale of preference, what is more important? If you ask a lot of men right now, they will write family. They will write, family. That family is most important. But then, like I tell people, your value is not a function of what you say. Your value is a function of what you do. What you do is a revelation of what your true values are. As for instance, I can say that my best food is shawarma or pizza. And if you ask me if I ate shawarma yesterday, then I tell you no. And if I ate it last week, I say no. If I ate it last month, I said no. You asked me if I ate it last 3 months. In the last 3 months, if I've eaten shawarma, and I said no, I haven't eaten any of it. And I tell you that the last time I ate shawarma was 1 year ago. But then I've been drinking gari. I drank gari yesterday. I drank it today. I drank it day before yesterday. I drank it last week, and I've been drinking it not because I lack money, but because I like drinking gari. Then it is obvious that my best food is not shawarma, but my best food is drinking gari.
Gary.
You know? So even though I may have told you that my best food is shawarma because I want to, sound like, oh, I'm posh, I'm prim and proper, and I'm eating, something classy. My best food is not shawarma. My best food is drinking gari. So your actions, they a revelation of your values, not your words. So if you say, for instance, that your family is number one, your family is up there in your value, and you are doing otherwise, then really your family is not your top value. Even though you might want to say, for instance, that, oh, I go to work because of my family, I'm trying to provide for them. But like I said earlier, how good would you feel if after providing for this family, at the end of the day, you have no even family to provide for? There is no family really at the end of the day, where everybody, is individual, it becomes individualistic as a result of your emotional absence, as a result of your absenteeism in the home front. So if family is important to you, you need to create time. The same way you are putting your resources, you also need to put in your time, because your children and your family desire and want and need your presence as much as they need your presence. Your family needs your presence as much as they need your presence. So you need to be deliberate. One of the things I will recommend is create a family time, right? In your busy schedule, create family time every day. You could be say, I will do family time from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. daily, where all your attention is on family. You drop your phone, except the purpose of using that phone is for the collective good of the family. If not, drop your phone, every gadget, and then face your family. Have time for your wife, have time for your children. If you have 2 children, you can create 1 hour each for each of them. If you have 3 children, you can create 45 minutes for each of them. So have what is called family time and be intentional about it, because your family is the most important nation on the earth. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, fathers, please. It's so clear now. Your actions are a revelation of your values and your priorities. So please pay attention, pay close attention to that so that things can be realigned, and then your action and your values, what you say and what you do, so that it can align, and then we'll see. We know your values by your actions. Please take note and sit with it and realign things for the progress of the family. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Okay, so there are lots of natural dispositions, patterns, traits, habits that are unhealthy, but we naturally gravitate towards it. It can be lust, gambling, lack of commitment, addiction, and so on. How can fathers be the change agents in their families? Taking addiction, for example, if you know that the generation before you had a tendency to become easily addicted to things like gambling or alcohol or extramarital affairs, but didn't do anything about it to change it, then it becomes a disposition that is passed down, and then you just take it like that's just the way we are, and that will always be a part of our family. We see a lot of things like this running from generation to generation, and fathers, fathers generally are not aware, and they don't take note, and they don't take action to do something about it, to put an end to it, to say, no, this thing runs in my family. But no, it should end there and not continue and not be transferred to my children. So how can fathers be more aware of what they are passing on to their children and better position to face these vices heads on?
Yeah. So your fathers need to understand that, especially if you're a father, right? Because we need to understand that there are different roles. So there is a role of a husband, and there's a role of a father, right? If you are dealing with an adult and you're dealing with a children, it's a two different ball game, or these are two different ball games entirely. So you need to understand that when you become a father, you no longer live your life for yourself. You now have an offspring, somebody who is supposed to be. One of the definitions and etymologies of the means of fatherhood is somebody that is supposed to take after your likeness, right? Somebody, that's why physically the person even looks like you. So it also means that mentally the person would most likely look like you. and character-wise, the person will most likely look like you. So you now need to look at yourself and ask yourself, is this what I want my child to be? Is this what I want my son to be? This is how I want my daughter to turn out. If you don't want them to turn out the way you turned out, then you need to be deliberate and intentional about working on your own issues, right? And this is not to say that you're perfect as a father. This is not to say that you will be perfect. Perfectionism is an illusion. Nobody can be perfect on this side of eternity. So we are not saying that you should be perfect or even try to be perfect. We are only saying that keep making progress. So progress would always trump perfection. You always want to ask yourself, am I better today than I was yesterday? So that is the question you want to keep asking yourself, to say, am I better today? Am I better today than I was last week, than I was last year? Am I a better father? Am I modeling my role properly as a role model to my children? Those are the questions you want to ask yourself as a father. And you need to be deliberate, like I said. So, for instance, if you have a weakness, say you have a weakness of gambling, or you have a weakness of extramarital affair, or whatever weakness that you have, you need to now take that weakness and then begin to work on it. If you need to talk to a therapist, talk to a therapist. If you need to talk to a counselor, talk to a counselor. Make deliberate efforts. Don't just sit in your corner and then expect that one day you will no longer have the weakness. They will just disappear from your life. No, it's not going to happen. If you are not deliberate about it, if you're not intentional about it, if you don't make the move, if you don't take actions, those habits, those unhealthy habits would linger and they would stay with you. If you want them to go away, then you have to do whatever is required for them to go away. So, fathers, you need to take the bull by the horn so that you can become better role models to your children, like I said earlier, because these children are partnering after you, and patterning after you as well, and they will turn out to be who you have modeled yourself to them to be. So you have to be deliberate about that and be the best father that you can be. Yeah, as you make progress every day to become that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, fathers, please take notes for posterity's sake. Let's just, sit down, have meetings with me, with ourselves, and reassess our patterns, reassess our traits, and dispositions generally for posterity sake, so that these children can turn out better as better members of your family and as better citizens of the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you for shedding light on that. So, what can sabotage men from being their best as fathers?
Yes, what can sabotage men? A lot can sabotage them. I will just focus on maybe one or two of those
And
things
then
that
maybe
I
if you
feel.
can just add to it also what skills are required, uh,
Okay,
for, yeah,
okay, all right.
okay.
So, what can sabotage fathers? One of the things that can sabotage fathers is pride, right? Or what you might want to term as arrogance. There is one thing to be ignorant, is another thing to be
Ego,
arrogant.
ego.
There is what is called the arrogance of ignorance. Is the worst place to be when you are incompetent, but then you are arrogant about your incompetence. That is one of the things that has actually sabotaged many fathers. So you need to deal with that pride and be humble enough to learn. It is very important. I know society has made fathers or men look like, okay, they are superior to the other gender, and maybe to every other person or whatever. But you need to bring down your shoulders and learn the ropes, learn the process, right? It is important that you become humble, right? Because you can learn from your wife, you can learn from your children. Children these days are teaching parents. Be humble enough to learn from your children, because there's a lot they have to teach you. There's a lot, for instance, going on in their generation that you are not even aware about, that you have no slightest idea of. but you would never know it if you keep being arrogant, and then you will keep messing up and disgracing yourself. So be humble enough to learn. Men need to deal and do away with arrogance. We need to do away with arrogance. We need to become humble and learn as fathers, right? And the second one is ignorance, right? Like I said, there is ignorance and then there's the arrogance of ignorance. But a lot of fathers are sincerely ignorant, right? They are not arrogant about their ignorance, but they're just ignorant. But of course, ignorance is not an excuse in the court of law. Ignorance is not also an excuse in the court of life. Because in life, life will not say, oh, because you are ignorant, don't worry, we'll make your children the best because you are ignorant. No, your children will face the same challenges other children who are informed will face. Your children will be in the same situation other children of the world will be in. So there is no excuse for your ignorance. So you need to be deliberate about improving your skill set and about improving your knowledge base when it comes to fathering your children and parenting them. You need to make sure that you deal with these two things, ignorance and then arrogance. It is very, 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 very important because many fathers are the lion of the tribe of their homes. Whenever they are coming, their children are running away and they find pride in it. They are happy that their children are scared of them. I'm
Wow.
surprised, man, that a father can be happy that a child is scared of him. Then you don't understand what fatherhood is, then. You don't understand what fatherhood is. If your child is scared of you and you are listening to this, or you get to listen
Is
to this, you don't understand fatherhood. Your child should not be scared of you. Your child should be able to look you in the face and tell you what they did wrong 2 days ago. Your child should be able to tell you, look in the face, and tell you what you are doing wrong. That is fatherhood. If you haven't gone to that point, then you are not fathering. You are an autocratic leader, right? You are an autocratic leader, and you need to calm down, lower your wings. Being lovable, being friendly, and being approachable does not make you any less of a man, does not make you any less of a father. It doesn't. It just means that your children will be able to confide in you better. It just means that your children will be able to find solace in you better. It just means that you'll be able to get more out of your children. It's common sense, maybe not so common anyway, but those are some of the strategies for fathering in this generation. And of course, what are the skill sets that you need to get as a father? I've communicated some of them in the course of our discussion, but I'll just highlight some of them again. One of the skill sets you need to get as a father is leadership skills. So you need to be able to understand how to lead as a father. You need to understand how to lead. You need to learn leadership. You need to understand leadership. A lot of us in Africa, our definition of leadership is authority or power, where you can lord it over people, you can lord it over your family, over your wife, and over your children. That's what you understand to be leadership. But that's not leadership. If it is not the most effective style of leadership. There is a style of leadership I want to introduce you to today that is called servant leadership. That is a leader that is taking responsibility for everyone in the home. Because I tell you and I put it to you that your scorecard at the end of the day as a father is how well your children turn out to be. The same, no, I said earlier that there are different roles. There's a role of a husband. The role of a husband is to properly groom the wife to become the best of herself. That is why you are called the bridegroom. But then there's another role called the role of a father, and the role of that father requires that you groom and you nurture all your offspring, your children, whether biological or surrogate, whether they grew up in you gave birth to them or you adopted them. Whatever the situation is, your responsibility is to nurture and groom them till they're able to express their potentials at the highest level. These are your scorecards. So when we look at you at your role as a husband, we want to score you by how well you have nurtured and groomed your wife to become the best. When we look at your role as a father, we want to score you at how much you have groomed and trained and nurtured your children to express their potentials at the highest level. If you are falling short in either of this, then it means that you don't understand what fatherhood is. You have not properly learned all that it takes to become a father. So you need to become a servant leader, someone who takes responsibility for everyone in the home, somebody who listens. Jesus said something in the Bible that he that must become the greatest must become the servant of all. That is where leadership is. So I tell people that leadership is actually servanthood turned inside out. Leadership is servanthood turned inside out. So if you say I'm the leader, what you're actually saying is that I'm the servant. I'm the chief servant of this house. That shows in how you lead and how you father your children. So you need to get leadership skills. You need to get communication skills as well. You need to understand how to properly communicate with your family. I tell fathers, whereas a father, you are a public speaker, you have an audience. The audience are your wife and your children. Those are your audience. You need to understand and learn how to properly communicate. For instance, you can't just be shouting at the top of your voice on everybody and feel that you are communicating. No, you are not communicating, you are shouting, right? You need to understand how to properly communicate to your children. You need to understand how to talk to your wife. You need to understand how to talk to your children. You need to understand those skills as a father, knowing how important soft words are. Because let me tell you, authority is not communicated by vocal strength. The louder your voice doesn't necessarily mean the most effective or the more effective of what you're saying. So you can be shouting an employee that you are fired. If he shouts on the top of his voice and says you are fired, it doesn't make the employee more fired if he says you are fired. Right? The employee doesn't need to even believe him. As long as it is coming from a place of authority and it goes forth, it gets effected. So as a father, you are a father. You don't need to shout on your children. You don't need to shout on your wife to communicate authority. It's very important that you learn how to communicate. Then you need to also learn emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a skill that fathers need to learn because you need to be able to understand the emotions of people, of your children, and understand your own emotions, and then be able to differentiate those emotions at different times. It's very important that you understand emotional intelligence because as a father, you are a leader, like we have established, and then you would get offended. Your children will do things that will offend you. You need to understand emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence even comes from knowing and understanding children. Because, for instance, a lot of fathers are demanding from their children what attitudes and behaviors that children are putting up are actually expected behavior. It is not strange behavior. It is not abnormal behavior. It's expected behavior. For instance, how will you be expecting a 4-year-old to be prim and proper, to sit down on one place, to not talk, to not play? You should be scared because a child of 4 is playing is language of children. Play is the language of children. If you don't understand as a father, you will get tensed, you will get emotional unnecessarily, and you will just lose your voice and make you lose yourself in the process. So you need to become more emotionally intelligent in training your children. So these are some of the skills that I will be sharing in the show today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, being a servant leader, communication authority is not communicated by vocal strength, listening, and emotional intelligence. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, fathers, please take note, take note. Some men, because of a particular situation such as divorce, widowhood, etc., parents alone, what advice do you have for them, as it can be a tough one, parenting alone? Yeah, it's same situation for women as well that find themselves in this kind of situation. Yeah. And then one other question I want to add to it is, is there any difference in raising a boy and a girl?
Mm, mm,
Yeah, especially for a
yeah.
man, a single parent, who have to raise a daughter?
Mm, yeah, yeah. That's a very powerful question. So if there is any single parent here, who is a man who is raising a child, my heart goes to you the same way we do for women, really, because I understand that it's not easy, and especially in a society where it is even unusual for a father to be training a child alone. Usually, it's the mother who does that. In the society we find ourselves. But when a man is doing that, it says a lot about the character of that man and the wisdom and fortitude that man has to be able to do that. So I salute you if you are such a person here and understand that it's really not easy to parent alone. And the same way we recommend that mothers or single mothers who are training children should get father figures, in the same way I will strongly recommend that single fathers should also get mother figures. It's very important because there's the same way a father figure or does something in the life of these children, in the same way mother figure does something in the lives of these children. So you need to get a mother figure. It might be your mother, it could be your sister, it could be an aunt, it could be anybody, a cousin, but you need to get a mother figure. It could be somebody, in maybe a religious organization that you trust to be able to play that role in the life of that child. That is a very strong counsel I'm going to give to every single father, out there. And of course, there are resources and things that you also need to keep learning about your single parenting out there. Search for them, you will get it about how you can play all of those roles, because it's really not easy. A lot of men are emotionally absent. So a child, it's important that fathers need to learn how to become emotionally present in the lives of their children.
Okay.
So men need to learn the ropes. Men need to be able to do that the same way women do that. So men need to get mother figures in the life of their children, the same way women get father figures as well. And then talking about if the second question is, remind me again, please.
Um okay, is there any difference between parenting girls and boys for fathers who have to raise, daughters, as in single fathers raising
Yeah.
daughters?
Yeah,
So
of
yeah.
course, there's a difference between parenting boys and parenting girls. Now
Okay.
there are general rules for parenting. You have to be able to train in certain areas of parenting. You have to be able to train everybody, the same way in that sense. But you also need to pay attention to gender, because for a lady,
They are
for
unique.
instance, that lady is somebody who is for instance going to see a menstruation. The guy is not going to have a menstruation. You know, so there are many dynamics. A guy, for instance, can have more physical strength than a lady. All of this can play out as they grow up. So you need to pay attention to all of that and pay attention to those peculiarities when training up the man from the woman. But I believe that there are things that should be parallel in training men or training boys and girls that have not been parallel in the past. Why training us, for instance, one of the things that was not parallel was cooking. So when it came to cooking, the women were the ones who were taught to cook. We, the guys, were not taught to cook. We played football while women cooked. So we grew up having the idea that women were supposed to cook
In
while
the
men were
kitchen.
supposed to provide the money that women used to cook. And it's playing out right now in a lot of homes and causing a lot of troubles. But I tell people that cooking is a life skill, cleaning is a life skill,
For
right? All of
boys
those
and
things,
girls.
all of those domestications are life skills that people should learn, both men and women, both boys and girls. So the same way ladies are trained in those areas to be domesticated, because a lot of men are not domesticated, really. A lot of men are not domesticated. So we also need to teach men or the boy child domestication. So when the female child is learning how to cook, is in the kitchen with the mother, then we need to also call the boy child to sit down there and also learn how to cook. It is very, very important. And let me tell you an interesting thing. An interesting thing about me was that I grew up in a house where I didn't learn how to cook. Even till now, if I go and visit my mom will say, "Men don't enter my pot." As old as I am, my mom will still either go and give me the food herself or get a female gender to do that. And I grew up and went to the university without knowing how to cook. The first time I cooked a spaghetti, I burnt it because I didn't understand how to cook. I saw somebody, who fried his stew or his sauce and then put in the spaghetti and then mixed everything together and the food was ready. I thought I'd learned how to cook spaghetti. I went home and then fried stew and carried the hard spaghetti and put inside the stew. I didn't know that the guy parboiled the spaghetti. And then I put my spaghetti as hard as it
Whoa.
was inside the pot and got it burnt. And when it was burnt, I was wondering, this guy's own did not get burnt. How come my own was getting burnt? So that's an example of how we get to disgrace ourselves as men when we don't learn some of these things. So it's important that on some levels we are power learning in what we teach boys and what we teach girls. Cooking, cleaning, changing light bulbs, all of those little things, in the house are things that everybody should be able to learn. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our time is fast spent, but we just rush through the remaining points. So, how can
Hold on, I cannot hear.
hello,
I'm here.
hello? Okay, okay, okay. So, how can fathers maximize their relationships with their wives, uh, or partner with them, to be more effective and impacting as a father?
Yes, we need to understand that our relationships with our wives impact on our
Children.
fathering of our children, our relationship with our wives. In fact, it's an important rule in parenting that you have a good relationship with your partner. Of course, I'm not saying that always has to happen because there are times where people inevitably have to get a divorce or get separated. But if in the perfect condition, all things being equal, you need to have a strong relationship, a good relationship with your partner, with your wife, because it communicates something to the children. It says something about how that's why research has said that people who grew up in dysfunctional homes have a very high tendency to also create dysfunctional homes in their own families when they become adults. Because how do children learn? By modeling. What they see and what they hear forms a strong hold in their minds, forms their beliefs, their values, determines their decisions and their actions, and then ultimately that's what they now get to reproduce. So if they see, for instance, a home that was broken where the dad beat up the mom, or a home of separation, of divorce, they are most likely to replicate it because that's what they have seen all their lives. We owe it to our children. Like you need to understand that it's no longer about you. It's now about somebody else who is looking at you. So even if you have to pretend, even if you have to fake it to make it, it's important that you do it for the sake of that child because it is not just about you anymore, but about somebody else. So we owe it to our children to love our wives, to taking cues, they are learning, and apart from even learning and taking cues, their overall growth and development is dependent on how we even treat our wives because they become dysfunctional themselves. They become, in fact, research has shown that people, for instance, who grow up in dysfunctional homes have tendencies for mental health by growing up. Because how do children learn? By modeling. What they see and what they hear forms a strong hold in their minds, forms a strong hold in their actions, and then ultimately by modeling what it is to have healthy relationships with our wives.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, fathers, please and please, whatever it is that is going to cost, whatever it is that is going to cost from today henceforth, let's sit down and reassess our relationship with our wives too and work at fostering healthy relationships, starting from between you and the mother of your children, first and foremost. Thank you very much. So we'll rush through this. There's always this generational gap between parents and children, and it's always a big issue. How can fathers come in and bridge this gap? What also is the future of fatherhood with the way things are going, all the things going on in our world presently, and how can fathers better position? Did you get that? Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
okay.
Okay.
Your line is breaking a bit. Could you repeat the question again, please?
Oh, okay. I said the issues that our children have most of the time with their father is as a result of the generational gap
Gap.
most of the time. So, how can fathers work better at bridging this gap? And also, with the way our world is going, things are changing at a fast speed. What's the
Yeah.
future of fatherhood, and how can
Mm.
fathers position? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very important question. And truly, there's a generational gap between every father and every and their children, right? Because, for instance, a millennial is most likely to give birth to a Gen Z or a Generation Alpha. Now, some fathers don't even understand what that is. They don't understand what you say Gen Z. What's Gen Z or Generation Alpha? These are things that parents need to study. You need to check it up. What's Gen Z? Because if your child is a Gen Z, it means that your child was born between say 2011 1997 to 2012. That's what it means, right? And your child is maybe between the ages of, say, do the calculations, 1997 and 2002. So it means that the way they think and process things, the way they
It's
look at
different.
issues are different from how we used to do. And it's very obvious in how our world is evolving, right? Because how people, for instance, one of the language of the Gen Z is independent. A Gen Z wants to be independent. He feels that he can produce things by being by himself. Technology has made that even easier because they connect with everybody from their cell phones. So they can be emotionally aloof. So if you don't understand that, for instance, you will be wondering why your child wants to spend all day on their phones rather than doing what they need to do. So you need to become aware. That's the first thing first. Become aware of what is going on. Understand the trends, understand the patterns. That's why you must be a learner as a father. You can't be arrogant. You can't be arrogant at all. Neither can you be ignorant, right? And you must keep learning because there are different things coming up. There are different issues that are arising, and you need to become aware. You need to become recent. You need to become informed about these things. So awareness is where it starts from, right? And then you need to, as much as possible, be humble enough to even learn from your children to bridge that gap, because sometimes they know
Mm.
things you don't know, right? Because you are
Yeah.
in their generation and you are not in the generation, so you might not even know some things. You might not be assuming a lot of things. You might not be assuming. So a child, for instance, they can be watching pornography in your very nose. You will not know that they are doing that because you
Yeah.
are assuming that, your child is holy because maybe they're in the choir in church. But you need to get involved. You need to become friendly to them so that they can carry you along, so that they can get you informed and up to date as to what is happening. So it's very important that you become flexible, right? You can't be as rigid as parenting as your parents parented you or as your father fathered you. You can't be as rigid as that. You need to become flexible. The 21st century father is the one who is flexible, right? So you need to be flexible. You need to be open-minded. You will hear things that might shake you. You will see things that might upset you, but you need to become open-minded, right? You need to become flexible. Then what you now need to do at that level is now begin to provide guidance. In your flexibility, you are providing guidance. In your flexibility, you are providing mentoring. In your flexibility, you are providing leadership. That is your role as a father. So in that flexibility, you are providing leadership, you are providing guidance, you are providing insights, right? And you are guiding your children through the right paths, right? So it's important that parents first of all get aware of what is going on, understand that these generations are apart, and then get involved as to learning what it takes to parent in this generation, right? Because there's Generation Z, there's a Generation Alpha, which is coming up already. So anybody, for instance, who is born between 2011 and 2025 is a generation alpha, right? That's see, generation alpha, they are independent, they challenge authority, they are not the ones who you will tell to shut up, to shut up. They will tell you to shut up. That's and they have learned it by associating with all that types of children who behave in these types of
Yeah,
ways.
don't
And
system.
they see
Yeah,
that, the consequences that you have said, you know, that are accrued to that kind of behavior, they have not seen those consequences accrued, by their friends. Their friends have gone away with those things. So why are you saying I shouldn't do them? So they will challenge authority. They will say, "Oh, mom, you are wrong. Daddy, you are wrong." If you have the mindset of where you're coming from or how you were trained, you will slap them. But if you slap them, you shut them up, they will open up to the world,
and
open up to
break
their
their
friends,
spirit.
and then those friends will imbibe wrong values, and then you would have more problem on your hands.
Jesus
So it's important
Christ.
that you get aware. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So fatherhood is a lot of work, and fathers need to constantly keep learning, keep brushing up. Is there any time that is too late to start this journey of fatherhood? What advice, to round up, what advice and encouragement do you have for fathers who just want to take this on?
Yeah. So there's a Chinese proverb that says that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now.
It's now.
So maybe the best time to have actually started learning about fatherhood was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now.
It's
Maybe the
now.
best time to have learned about fatherhood or to have started learning about fatherhood was before you got married, but the second best time is now. Maybe the best time to have started learning about fatherhood was when you just got married, but the second best time is now. Maybe the first or the best time to have started learning about fatherhood was when you gave birth to your first child, but the second best time is now. So don't beat yourself up. There is always a second opportunity to begin more intelligently. And that's what failure is. Like Henry Ford said, that failure is an opportunity to begin more intelligently. So if you haven't gotten it right hitherto, this is an opportunity to take the bull by the horn and start from where you are. Right? In the days of ignorance, God overlooked, but right now, He demands that every man repents. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been a time of enlightening this evening. We appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for impacting us. Thank you for showing fathers, true light and on what to do regarding the ideal where fatherhood is concerned. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
man.
And to everyone that's been on the show today, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Keep sharing to as many fathers as possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, we end on this note. Have a most beautiful weekend. Bye.
All right. Bye,